Hello, everybody, and welcome to Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride of what we do drives us to be excellent. My name is Josh Cadillac, and once again, you're stuck with me in the driver's seat for today's show as we learn how to stop chasing paychecks and how to start closing customers for life, how to build a business that you can be proud of where customers come back to you. And we learn how to do this by talking to some of the most successful people in every field to find out how they achieve success in the businesses they run. We have a great show for you today because we have a great guest in Oscar. Oscar, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, Josh, thanks for having me on the show today, man. Good to see you again.
Great. Yeah, man. I did your show not too long ago. Oscar, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody what it is you do, my friend?
So basically, I help salespeople get really good at closing deals in a way that makes them not be, and just let's just say it, Josh, not be an ass.
Yep.
So a lot of the times we've been trained as salespeople, or we've had really bad training where you think you have to, power through and sell and pitch and sometimes just be a jerk. And so Josh, I've been in the trenches of sales since I was 21 years old, man. Whether it's selling products, services, high ticket items, uh, things to governments, opening big doors. So over the years, I've just been in sales my whole life. I've trained sales team. I've trained hundreds of sales team. I've built my own company. I'm an entrepreneur, and I just realized, what can I do? I can't teach people to be me, Josh, just like you can't teach people to you, but I can teach them the concepts and the tools that make me successful as a salesperson.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always kid around and I say, I could tell you what I say and you try to say what I say, it's not going to work for you because you're not me. Oscar, I don't know if it's true for you. I learned this as a young man. I have friends, when we would try to talk to girls, they would go say things that, Oscar, if I tried to say that, forget slapped. You'd find my body by Alligator Alley someplace with a leg gnawed off. Like, I'd be dead. A woman would kill me if I tried to say that. But when they say it, smooth as glass, it works perfectly for them. And there is this component of the person speaking, right? So whenever I talk to them about like what to say, that organic piece of it, having their own confidence, being in a place where they believe the person speaking and being able to say it in a way that's compelling, maybe doesn't make it sound just like mine, but they find their own version that works. If that makes sense.
I know exactly what you're talking about. So one of the reasons that I got into corporate training, which is really what I do, speaking, corporate training, writing books, is I realized I'm sure you have too, Josh, and you'd probably understand me here. I've read tons of books on sales, right? And they all seem to be personality based. Like if you're Grant Cardone, you're Grant Cardone, but not all of us have his looks, his ability. You're just not him. And most of the sales books out there are 100% personality based. Hey, say what I say, do what I do. And it's not about that. I flip the script and I say, no, if you simply learn how to ask better questions, connect with your customer, it's not about what you say, honestly. It's closing intelligence, ask don't tell, is about asking the right questions to connect with the heart so the other person wants to do business with you. There's no selling. And most of the books out there, Josh, are about, hey, if you say this and you're this personality, the sale just happens. That doesn't happen in the real world. You got to connect with people in the real world. You get that?
Absolutely. It's two people coming together, right? And what that equation looks like, you got to take and sort out what the equation needs to equalize this and make the pieces come together. It's a thing. It requires the intelligence, as you're referring to take and see
that that my target market, like the people that were just going to be like, wow, can you come speak and train for us, would be hardcore salespeople that would grab this and say, wow, this is going to make me better. And while that happens, and you know, a lot of people get nuggets, but Josh, you've been around sales your whole life. I mean, at the end of the day, if you were listening to me in a podcast or speaking in public or giving you a workshop, you'd say, I know some of this stuff. What I love doing is I actually love training those people that have never actually had formal sales training. Like they could be engineers, you know, they might be, you know, they might be techies, they might be in business development, they might have been put in sales roles that they just don't feel comfortable with. They're like, I'm not a salesperson. And I love making people understand that the world, everything that you do in this life is sales. Whether it's in your job, whether it's in your company, whether it's at home, it's sales. So I love telling people that what I do, and this is to answer your question, is not sales training. It's yes training. It's life training. Because if you can take someone that doesn't have your skills, my skills, and make him just a little bit better, man, it's life changing. It is absolutely life changing. And that's what I love about what I do.
Absolutely. Where do you think the success came from for you, though?
The success for me came from, you know, it's funny because your and I personalities are very similar. Like we like to talk, we've got a lot of energy. And what I realized, Josh, that as I moved along in my sales career and built companies and trained salespeople, I realized that while I have a communication to speak, to impact, it wasn't that actually made the difference in people's life. At one point in my life, I realized, wait, it's not what I say, it's what I ask. It's first how I connect with someone, rapport, have an intent with them, but it's the questions that I ask them and digging deep into their lives and really finding out what they care about and uncovering what I call the 4 whys that makes people want to be with you, they hang out with you, to do business with you. And so in my life, it was this shift from talking, which I can do perfectly well and you can too, to listening. And that's what made a huge shift in my closing rates and in the way that people responded to me and everything in life. So that's why now what I do is the show, you know it, in the book that's going to come out, Ask, Don't Tell, because it's not about telling, it's about asking. And that was the shift for me with the ability to speak, but it's about asking and listening. That's what it's all about.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this, and it may play into what you just said. You may have a different answer for me. What would you say in your makeup, your assessment of you? What in your makeup makes you good at what you do?
What makes me really good at what I do is that I first realized that if I'm going to impact the lives of someone else, like I believe that I always joke around with people and say, my gift is reading hearts. And they're like, well, how is that? And it's like, well, because if I ask you enough questions and if I dig deep enough, I'm going to read your heart. So what makes me what I do with my friends, with my family, in the business world, is people know me as the guy that asks a lot of questions. But that's not who I am naturally. That's who I kind of, how I've learned is the secret of really being influential in other people's lives. So the only reason I can do that is because I really care. I actually care. And that's one of the things I say on my show is like caring about real top salespeople care about their people they're selling to. And if you care, you can make an impact. So that's what I don't know if I answered the question, but you got to care. You got to care, man. You got to care about what you do. Otherwise,
you genuinely care. Yeah,
you're just
that is a good assessment. What do you do when things don't work out the way they're supposed to? When you have unmet expectations? You and I are both in sales, and sales is one of those things that can be at times streaky. You can take and do everything right, and things still go to crap. It can be if I had to pick the word with sales that is kind of the hard part of sales, it can be very demoralizing. What do you do to manage you when things don't go well?
Right. Well, one of the things that I teach, what I teach in my workshops is first, in order to find out what the other person wants, is you have to go through a process. I call it the 4 whys. But once you've discovered what that person wants, and in the real world, when you present a solution, or whether it be an idea or just trying to influence someone, you're going to get a no. You're immediately going to get a no every single time, right? Or at least most of the time. Those perfect opportunities, those perfect deals where you just get a yes are counted. And so what I try to realize that no, what does for me is no is a part of life. No is a part of the process. No is bring it in, baby. Like, give me the no, because I teach you to overcome the no with certain, skills and abilities and strategies that I use. And we can get into that. But what I do in closing intelligence is I teach you how to get past the no, but you first have to understand that no is part of the process. And where salespeople and most people fail in life and in sales is that when they get no, they take it as a step back, or as we've had enough of you. But in reality, to me, it's what is this person not saying, or what is this opportunity not giving, or what haven't I discovered that allows me to get to the yes? So it's just accepting the no, Josh. It's accepting the no.
That makes sense. So you've alluded to the 4 whys. You've alluded to your book quite a bit. And I want to give you an opportunity to take and ask you if it's possible to give our listeners a little sneak peek, like the tool that you'd suggest. I'm not asking to give away the keys to the kingdom, but
I'm happy to,
the sampler tray.
All right. I'm happy to give away the keys to the kingdom, because I believe it's about information. But at the end of the day, it'll take me a whole 2-day workshop with a whole company with, hundreds of people in the room to go through it. But I'll give you the very, very basic. So I believe that in order for someone to say yes to something, for the other person to understand why they need to take some other action, there's 4 whys. They need to understand why they need help, why your solution can help them, why you are the right solution for them, and why today. So basically, if I come up to you and you start pitching to me and I don't need help, you're wasting your time. There's many solutions to solve the same problem. If you don't understand why your solution is the right one, you're wasting your time. And then after I understand that I need help, and after that I understand that your solution can help me, then it becomes why you or your company. See, most people start out with why you or your company. That's not even the word place where you're supposed to start out. That comes like after they know they need help and they know you need a solution. And once they understand that, then you can go into the why today. But most salespeople focus on 2 things: why me and why today. And that's why they fail.
That makes sense. Makes sense. So let me ask you this. This is a little bit of a fun one. What do you see as the opportunity in the market today?
What is the opportunity? Are we talking real estate? Are we talking?
When you talk about what do you think about that gets you excited? Where do you think the opportunity is in your business and what you do, whatever? Entrepreneurs always have something they're looking at.
I will tell you what's getting me really excited right now. I love, man. I love AI. I am 100% using and leveraging AI as much as I can. I mean, I've even named my chat GTP. I've even given him a name, right? And I say, hey, and I won't say the name but what's happening is that there's a lot of people fighting this, right? And it's going to change our world. I believe it's already doing that, but I believe that in the next 6 to 12 months, those people that are fighting it are just going to say, what happened? Like people are saying, well, I don't want to use it because of this. I don't want to use it that. I'm afraid of security. Anyone that has learned to leverage the power of AI right now is becoming that much more efficient, but we're only seeing the beginning of it. And so I want to know what those companies in AI right now that we can invest in. I want to know what opportunities out there in other companies are going to leverage AI. I want to know what those companies that are going to profit, make more money, have more revenue. Yes, let's say are probably going to lay off a bunch of people because of AI. So I'm really interested right now in what AI is going to do to our world and to the economics and to the opportunities and to the businesses out there that are just going to take off from it. Did I answer that question properly?
Yeah. That's beautiful. What would you say is the most important thing that you would say? I mean, I want you to take a half a step back mentally. You don't physically do it, it turns out. Mentally, what would you say is the most important thing that you've learned in the process of doing what you've done? I don't mean the sales stuff. I mean, like, you've done a lot of different things. You've published a book. You've picked these life lessons up along the way. What was one that you would share that you would think is the most important lesson you've learned?
So one of the things that I like teaching people is that you can have success, Josh, without sacrificing your life, your family, your health, vacation. You can do all that. And I run several businesses, or I'm involved in the running of several businesses at the same time, while at the same time running my own. And people ask me, how can you do that? How can you do podcasts, write books, be a CEO, travel all over, take 3 months out of vacation a year? And what I always say is, that's you have to be intentional about it. Life cannot be work. Life cannot be making money. There's never enough money that you can make that's going to give you complete satisfaction. And there's never enough work. Work will always be there. And so I love taking time for myself. And I am always encouraging people to say, what's your passion? What is your passion? If it's writing books, write books. If it's exercising, exercise. If it's traveling, travel. Because guess what? One of these days you may not be able to do it. So I believe you can do that. I believe you can do that. And there's 1,000 ways to do it. And that's one of the things that I also train in my seminars and things like that. I mean, I can go into it, but that's one of the things that I like showing people how to do that. How do you achieve that? How do you achieve success, but also without sacrificing your life?
No, that makes sense. I mean, that balance is a big one. And
I know it was wishy-washy. Because I gave you
no, it wasn't. It's okay. It's okay because, I mean, some of the biggest ideas in life are a little bit nebulous, but we understand that there's something really important there. And frankly, I mean, a lot of the time with the development process, with the creation process, it starts off as a nebulous idea. And as I teach it more and as I work it around more, I roll it around in the old cabeza, it gets to be a little bit more clear and a little bit more. And so, eventually it codifies into a pearl of wisdom that, hopefully you can take it. Well, we're always trying to clean up. I don't know if it's the same for you, Oscar, but I'm always trying to take and clean up. And maybe there's a better way to say this and a better way that I can convey this that maybe is going to help move somebody in the right way and help them to get what they want out of life. I'm always looking for that better analogy. I'm a big analogy guy, so.
Right. Well, I mean, kind of. Go ahead.
Good. No, that's okay.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, if you're, you mentioned, for example, AI, right? Or I mentioned AI, but for we're getting into a world where if you're able to leverage outsourcing, if you're able to leverage virtual assistants, if you're willing to leverage AI, if you understand, what it means to be focused and time block and use the technologies around you, it is possible for you to leverage and be able to do all the things that you want to do and also go play golf on a Friday, right? And I just think that there's those out there that are listening that are still stuck in the, I got to work, I got to be in the cycle, right? I got to be in the work all day. And if I have time for everything else in my family, so I mean, it's just really important for me to really step back and talk about that, because without that support system, without joy, you just can't succeed. It won't be enough. You'll never have enough success.
No, I mean, you wind up like, the Rockefeller of the world. How much is enough? A little bit more, right? I mean, you're constantly chasing and never getting. So this little segment I want to do is kind of more of a lightning roundish kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
where we just kind of get to know you a little bit better. What would you say you're most proud of in business you've accomplished?
What I'm most proud about business that I've accomplished. So I would say, gosh, that was deep. So it has to be fast, right? It has to be fast. So I will tell you, So when I was 21 years old, I actually started a company that still is around today, and we connect international student athletes with colleges and universities in the United States. I started that when I was 21 years old. It's still a company that I run passively today. I don't do much with it, but we've helped thousands of kids from all over the world come to the United States to study. And I actually talk about that in the book Closing Intelligence. But the lives that we've changed, the legacies created. I mean, you're some soccer player in Colombia. You came to this country, you studied through a scholarship, and your whole legacy in life changed. And that's actually something I'm very, very proud of.
That's a good one.
That I started when I was very young.
That's a good one. Similar question, slightly more personal. What are you most proud of in life that you've accomplished at this point?
Man. Wow. All right. So what am I most proud in life that I've accomplished at this point? So I believe that spiritually. So if you want to get personal, I mean, I'm a Christian.
Yep.
I believe that I have certain abilities and power that I've been gifted with.
Yep.
And I am proud every day to be grateful for those, but also realize that I can't do things. I can't do things by myself without. And I know your target is very large here, so I'm going to be broad, but without the power of whether it be God, if that's what, or the power of the Word or the power of the Bible. Like I'm very proud of of where I am. Spiritually, and how that impacts my life, and how it gives me the ability to go out and impact the lives of others. It's what's the guy that writes? What's the money guy that writes from the Christian background that writes the money books?
Oh, you mean? Oh, I know exactly who you mean. Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I know you're talking.
The household name. Anyway, he always says that success doesn't happen overnight. Success is Dave Ramsey says that success is hard work.
Yep.
Patience multiplied by God. And I firmly believe that the multiplied by God is the most important one, because things don't happen overnight.
That's right.
That's what it is. So I answered your question. There you go.
There you go. All right. One piece of advice. You and I both know there are people that are listening to this that you may never see or speak to again. You may never talk to them. You get a chance to give them one piece of advice. And you know how important that one piece of advice is. I'm sure, Oscar, there's been people that have given you a piece of advice and it rolled around up there and it changed things for you. If you had one piece of advice you could give folks, whatever you feel called, knowing you're a man of faith, sometimes you just feel a word left on your heart to say, what would it be?
Man, Josh, is this a Christian show? So, because you're just giving me the platform, man. And here's the funny thing. When I write the books, when I speak, it really surprises when I all of a sudden say, "Oh, by the way, I'm a Christian." So I've been put in a place. A lot of times you're like, "Wow, I would never know that," right? So the thing that impacts my life the most, I will tell you, if there's something that I can, then without getting biblical here. So, because this could be yoga, this could be just quiet time, it could be anything. But I take about 30 minutes every morning, every day of my life, before I do anything else. Like, I don't sleep with my cell phone stays down 3 levels before. I don't have technology. I take 30 minutes before anything else, before I touch the world, to whether it be meditate. I call it prayer. I call it, studying scripture. But you can call it meditation. You could call it prayer. You could call it yoga. You can call it whatever you want. But those 30 minutes prepare me for the reality of this world, right? And the reality of this world is I'm going to get a lot of no's. I'm going to get a lot of yes. And there's a lot of dirty things out there. Without those 30 minutes of preparing my mind and my soul, there is no way I would be able to accomplish the things that I do in life. And so I would say, if you're not doing right now, even if you're not spiritual in any way, take 30 minutes for yourself in the morning to just be quiet. And the thoughts and the ideas and the opportunities and the things that are going to come in your head, honestly, I believe are from another power.
Yep. No, good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right. One more.
Gosh, this is personal, man. This is personal.
I told you, look, at the end of the day, people want to know who they're listening to see if,
right,
the kind of person they want to be. One book, you got to nail it down to one book you'd recommend besides yours.
No, yes. Besides myself, one book I would really recommend is I will. So earlier I said that I'm able to do a lot of things. I'm able to run a lot of different businesses, and I'm able to do it because there's a book that I read a long time ago that is one of my favorite all-time books. It is called Build the Business, Not a Job. I don't know if you ever heard of it, by David Finkel. And so what that book does is shows you how to exactly do that. How to not live in the business entrepreneur rat race where you're doing everything. Like I, Oscar Subrots, build businesses. And in order to build businesses, right, I go into businesses and I help to train their sales teams and everything else. But in my own businesses, I build businesses, which means that those businesses work independent of myself so that I can go out and do more things. And that's a phenomenal book that will lead you towards that direction. It's called Build the Business, Not a Job.
Love it. Favorite movie of all time?
That one's easy. It's probably Gladiator. I love Gladiator. Any one of those movies that are like that my wife never wants to watch with me, right? Gladiator, Braveheart.
Doesn't want to watch.
What are some of those? Braveheart. Anything that lasts 3 hours and is about history, bring it on, baby. Like I'm the guy that's sitting at so I travel a lot. And I will go through the list and I'll say, which is that movie that my wife is never going to want to watch?
Let me take the opportunity. Yeah. No, I get you. It's good stuff. Famous person in history you'd want to sit down with and meet if you could.
Famous person in history that I would want to meet if I could. Right. Oh, man, that's a hard one. There's just so many. I mean, I can think. I'll just give you some names. I mean, I would love to have a conversation with one of our founding fathers, particularly right now with everything we're going through in this country, good or bad. I'm not making it a judgment. It would just simply be great to have their perspective. Whether it be Jefferson or whoever.
Totally depends upon who.
It depends. Yeah, I'd be like, I want to know what your thought is on what we're seeing, good or bad, whichever way you are, right? Let's not get political.
I can tell you what, if you ever read Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson would have been all over. He would have wanted Doge times 10. Thomas Jefferson didn't want a navy. He wanted everything by militia. He didn't want to spend a nickel. He was such an interesting cat.
But then what would happen if you asked Washington, right? Like what would happen if you, because it's on the opposite spectrum. And by the way, what are some of the great books that actually give you do you like the Bill O'Reilly books, the Killing Series?
Yeah,
books?
the Killing Series books.
Yeah, they give you a great. I'm not saying that's where I get my history, but I'm saying if
it's very detailed. It's very detailed.
But anyway, those are some of the people I'd like to meet. The list could go on.
Absolutely.
But I think
Similar question, but again, more personal. What person from your past, if you could pick anyone from your past, who do you want to sit down with and have lunch with today if you could?
From my past, if I could sit down with lunch. So a couple people come to mind, and I'll tell you, I'm going to give you an overview of why. When I was young, I was very go get it, start the business, let's grow, let's succeed. And sometimes when you're young, you forget the people that open the doors for you are those that are so important. And you're young and you forget about those people. So I can think of at least 5 people that opened the doors for me that made my business like go from 0 to worldwide. And I never got a chance to actually thank those people. I never got a chance to say, if it wasn't for you, you had nothing in it for you. You just thought that I had a great idea and you helped me. And if I
Yeah,
could go back in time, I would sit with those people and say, look at what we've done. And I would have never done this if it wasn't for you. And there's at least, it sounds like I'm a tyrant, right? But when you're young, when you're 21, 22, 20, you don't think about this stuff. No
sure.
one, someone said this in a book, Malcolm Gladwell, I think in his Outliers, right? No one is self-made. Everyone has someone somewhere that helped them do something. And if you think you're
Yeah.
self-made, that's just lack of humility. Because in reality, I'm here because I've gotten yes throughout my life, people opening the doors. And I just help other people get those yeses in life.
The gift to go back and make up for the thank yous that you forgot
Yeah,
to give
exactly.
is a tremendous thing. That gratitude is such an important part of not just experiencing the success, but appreciating the success you have. I couldn't agree with that more. What one piece of advice would you go back and give a younger version of you if you could? Young
Be
Oscar,
humble.
who's out there looking to kill the world.
Be,
What would you be like?
be
Hey,
humble. So again, I've been gifted with this ability to communicate and this ability to get to yes. And my goal is to say, because I once asked myself the question, what are those gifts that I've been given that I could teach others? And that's all I try to do. You don't have to be me. I can just teach you how to get a little bit better at communication, at getting to yes, and some whatever. But the reality is that it took me a while to realize that was a gift because I was just not humble. And so if could go back when I was a college athlete too. So nothing worked in my favor. I was a college athlete at a top 30 Division I program. Everything was always kind of handed to me. Not when I was growing up. When I was growing up, I'm a first generation immigrant. We struggled. But when I was in my early 20s, I would say that I wasn't very humble. And that's the lack of the thank yous. That's the lack of the vision of seeing, um, these gifts aren't, you didn't create these gifts. Like you were handed
yeah,
these gifts and you're gifted the ability to do something with them. And you got lucky opening some doors. But for a long time, I didn't realize that wasn't me. It was, that's just a lack of humility. And even now my wife says, don't forget about humility. Don't forget about humility. I'm sure you never get that, Josh. I'm sure you never
no.
get the lack of humility.
We definitely we need those people around us to remind us to stay humble. It's I've said on here before. I have a friend. He's an actor on Broadway. He's been nominated for 3 Tony Awards, and so like he's a big deal. He's really good at what he does, right? And he is still one of the most easy to talk to, most cool, humble guys. But he has a whole series of disciplines he keeps in place to make sure that he doesn't go off the rails. And I love that about him. He recognizes that his character is such that it could be a thing, but he's not going to let it because he's going to set himself up to not let it go. And I think that's an important set of eyes we have to put on ourselves. This willingness to accept, hey, look, the temptation is there, and I'm not necessarily certain that I will recognize it, because you don't get not humble and necessarily know it about yourself. You don't experience you, other people do. So
Right. And I don't know, I wanted to add something there. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've noticed, because I surround myself with a lot of very successful entrepreneurs. And what I've noticed is those people that are very successful entrepreneurs, as you, as myself, at some point in their life, they either become humbled or they humble themselves. But most of them are very humble. Like I know very wealthy people with airplanes that are the most simple, that are you would never know it because of that humility that you're talking about. Because they've been there, they've done it, and they realize this wasn't easy. Business is not easy, right? Making money's hard.
It is. Getting up every day and taking the punishment and going back in there and asking for more. Please, have another. Yeah, it's a thing.
Hey, if money's really easy, I need you're either got lucky or really good business, or I need to question what you're doing.
Yeah, well, it's a thing. It's a thing. So powder, white powder. That's how you're okay. if you had to pick, who would you choose? If you had to be stuck in a foxhole taking fire, who would you pick to have in there with you? Who's got your back?
Who's got my back?
Yeah,
Who's my greatest supporter?
Who's
my
the
wife.
person
My wife. My wife.
You just avoided a landmine, brother. That's the right answer.
I will tell you that you cannot do, Josh, you cannot, like, you can't write books, be in podcasts, travel all over the world, run different companies, think of something new, have a 5-year-old, enjoy life, go on vacation, if you don't have a wife that's really support your craziness and all your ideas. You just and it understands you, by the way, and is willing to put up with you, because you and I are probably a lot to put up with.
That's the big, I mean, honestly, that's really the thing. Like, the subset of people that can tolerate my nonsense and then, like, simultaneously be what is flat out the wind beneath my wings is a very small subset of the human's population. So, that demographic is one I thoroughly appreciate. It is a thing.
Yes.
All right. Last real question that I have.
Oh God, I'm gonna be able to breathe again finally.
What are you worried about, man? You know the subject matter. You know the guy we're talking about.
Man.
What do you do to unwind?
What do I do to unwind? Oh, that's an easy one.
I mean, all I got.
So I work. So after this, I'm going to go work out. I work out every single day. There's some great books out there. There's one called Young Forever. There's one called Younger Next Year. I love those books. I work out every single day, man. Every single day. I try to stay healthy. I try to eat well. It's hard. I love to eat. I love watching maybe 30 minutes of a show to just disconnect at night. I read books in the evening. I go to church on Sundays, but most of all, I try to get my stuff done so that I can be with my child and my wife in the afternoon. Sometimes that's not possible because I'm traveling, but reality is that I understand that work cannot be my God and money cannot be my God. That is what I will leave that with.
Yep. No, it's good stuff. You're an entrepreneur. You got the bug. I know. You got the disease just like me. And with us entrepreneurs, there's always something else, always something next. I think I heard you talk about it a little bit earlier, that you got a show coming. What's next for you? What's the next big project? What's the thing that's got you excited?
So for me, the book, the way the book was received and the opportunities that it's opened, particularly the companies that have reached out for me for training, for speaking, I mean, and how fast it happened has been truly remarkable. I mean, it was put in my heart to write that book. It took years to write it, and then all of a sudden, poof, it takes off, right? But I live in this thing where I don't know honestly what, and I'm going to get spiritual here. I don't know what God's got next for me. And I'm doing the right things for that to happen. You know, I've got a great podcast being released. I've got another second book coming out. I'm working on some really important deals. And I'm just excited to see, because somebody asked me, what do you want to do with all this? Because you've already built the businesses. You don't have to do this. Why do you do this? And I said very clearly, yes, money is great. I love to make money, but I want to impact people's lives. And so for me is the more lives I can impact, the bigger the company, the bigger the audience, that I can give them just some nuggets of wisdom that's going to change my life, their life, and mine too, maybe. Their life, that's what, because somebody asked me, what is it that gets you going? And it's that impacting people's lives part. So I'm excited to see what that second book's going to come out, what the other show's going to do, and see what happens with that. I mean, I can go global. See, the thing is, Josh, what you don't know about me, and I'm going to blow you away. Puedo hacer esto en 2 idiomas. Entonces yo puedo impactar el mundo. So so these ideas I can go global with. And I was blessed enough to speak fully bilingual 2 languages. And I believe that God's going to use that in an amazing way. That's what I'm excited about.
Awesome. All right, Oscar, last thing I got to know. Where can people find you?
So you can find me. You can go to closingintelligence.com where it's the book website. You can go to oscarsubarats.com. And you can go find the book on Amazon. You can connect with the show Ask Don't Tell. And you can reach out to me personally too at oscar@closingintelligence.com. And I'm happy to answer questions and communicate with whoever.
Awesome. Oscar, thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom and for sharing it with us. It was great having you on the show.
Thanks, Josh. Thank you for having me on the show. I always enjoy having our conversations. But last time, I mean, we have a lot of energy going here, so I think we'd wear each other out.
It's all good, man. And I want to thank our listeners for spending their time with us. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. I will tell you, as I always do, there's never a good excuse not to know your shit. Till next time.